Morning, welcome to Dallas Broadcasting Corporation at 8 a.m. Today we're going to be talking about our interview with Sonny K. Lewis, and we're going to be running down basically what we said to her and what she said to us. So let's just get it started. Charlie, why don't you cover the most common trafficking areas in Dallas?
Well, here's the thing about trafficking in Dallas is that it is mostly on a digital level. Primarily, social media and online platforms are the main entry points, and this exploitation begins through messaging and escalates further to blackmail and coercion. A lot of human trafficking organizations use online websites to find customers or people to use these services. But physical hotspots include Harry Hines, Walnut Hill, and Shady Trail area known as the Blade, which is a major hotspot for non-online human trafficking in Dallas.
We call it the Blade, but many call it the Whole Straw. And this is where Treetop makes his business investments.
Yes, so as Sonny Lewis told us actually in our research, the Blade most often includes pimping, sort of physical human trafficking, or even where you would meet someone online and then have them go to a bar on the Blade, say. She also told us that a steakhouse with, a wine menu where they don't even have the prices is, the best place to find human trafficking, because oftentimes these pimps will take their victims to nice restaurants when they first meet them. But specifically why Dallas is vulnerable is there's high levels of financial instability that create exploitable vulnerability. And Mrs. Lewis told us that any person with a vulnerability, whether that be sexual orientation, financial instability, that all creates an opportunity, a pressure point for the pimp to extract and extort.
So some of the main recruitment methods that go on, especially are on Instagram and Snapchat through direct messages. Many human traffickers will pose maybe as a woman of a similar age to the victim if they're going after a man, or vice versa, and they'll try to build a trust amongst the victim. This is one method, is sexual coercion or sextortion, where they try to get someone to send explicit pictures of themselves, and then they use it to blackmail them, rather for money or even worse, sexual acts.
And something else that we found very interesting was one specific story Mrs. Lewis gave us, which was horrendous in its nature, but very pertinent to what we're speaking about now. A man had 2,000 roughly girls on Instagram being extorted, where he had catfished them, pretending to be a woman their age, and convinced them to send lewd images to him. And then once the images were sent, he revealed his true identity, and he said, well, if you don't keep sending me stuff, I'm sending this to your friends, your family, the like. And these girls were forced into sexual acts with pets. They were forced into committing violence on family members, and it was just a very dangerous situation to be in. And it was horrendous because not only the scale, but also the inhumane acts that he was forcing these teen girls to do. It eventually was uncovered when one girl was asked to commit a sexual act with her sibling, and she refused, told her parents out of fear, and the whole curtain came crashing down, and it was all brought into the limelight. So now we're going to talk about warning signs.
Okay, well, some key warning signs are, they're things that obviously sometimes people exhibiting some of these signs may not be sexually trafficked, but these are some signs to look for where you can kind of tell a little more if someone is being sexually trafficked or not. They're usually subtle, but possible indicators include chronic exhaustion, disengagement in social life, and a declining school performance. Luckily, though, there are some key organizations in Dallas that work to help bring people out of trafficking situations.
Some key organizations that Ms. Lewis brought our attention to include Traffic 911 and Unbound Now, which really helped her victims get sanctuary after she was done prosecuting on their behalf and on the behalf of the city of Dallas. But some changes that she said she wanted to see in society itself include some greater awareness for more impactful legislation, but also greater awareness of the populace as a whole. And that social media is, she said, the engine for that. So then we asked her, well, Ms. Lewis, how do you weigh social media causing so much strife for human trafficking victims and social media being an engine to create awareness for human trafficking itself? And she said that the responsibility lies in the social media companies themselves, as they are able to flag DMs, say. If Instagram had been flagging inappropriate DMs and maybe contacting authorities, then these girls never would have gone through the harm that they went through, and that man, the 35-year-old man, would never have been able to take advantage of them in the way that he did. So Ms. Lewis said that the responsibility lies in the social media companies.
Challenging for these survivors to reintegrate into society. Obviously, what human trafficking does, they pull them in by exploiting a vulnerability and filling a specific need. Ms. Lewis mentioned that they kind of have their whole family, or as they call it, maybe a stable of their wifeys with their other prostitutes or people who are human trafficked. So that kind of community sometimes is what brings them in. It also might be gifts or money or something of that sort that really keeps them in, but really doesn't give them anything too much in return. And so when some of these survivors are coming back into the real life, maybe after they've been picked up, a lot of them end up falling back into the sex trafficking business. And that's why it's very important for some of these organizations to really reintegrate people in society and help them come to terms with, their past trauma.
And just to close this out here, Charlie, that was a great point you just made. One thing that I found really powerful by Mrs. Lewis's testament was when she said that being a woman of the faith, she always thought that she was going to be a missionary, working in the church somehow. And when she became a teacher right out of college, she felt a little bit lost. She was like, I'm not sure this is quite my calling. And then after deciding to eventually go to law school and get her law degree, she decided that she was going to become a public prosecutor. And she told us herself that was her form of missionary. That was her religious calling. And the proof is really in the pudding with the amount of people that she helps get back on their feet and the amount of criminals that she puts away in the name of justice.
What is most important to remember is that we, as human beings, have an obligation to try to help these people. It's really easy to just take the back seat and be passive about it, because a lot of us will never witness anything like this up front in our life. I'm sure Miss Lewis never really was exposed to things like that, but she knew that things were going on, and she went and she is making a difference. And it's very important that humans and all of us, that it's very important that we be aware of what is going on, and aware so we can help respect the dignity of all humans.